So I was prepared to practice and give a teaching demonstration. But I was just informed that the class is over on the 18th, and I thought it was the 26th. I have thought it was the 26th since the course began. So I wasn't bargaining on that. So I'm just going to teach it the best way that I can without practicing first in my classroom after school. So this lesson is over parts of speech, and the duration is 5 lessons at 20 to 30 minutes each. So this would be Monday through Friday, and I'm only going to teach one. This is Reading Language Arts, grade 4. The unit description is, in this unit, students will learn and review sentence structure and parts of speech, such as nouns, verbs, adverbs, adjectives, and pronouns. At this point, I would stop and ask students to raise hands to give an example of a noun, a common noun, and a pronoun. Probably some verbs, some adverbs, some adjectives, and some pronouns. And that would, I assume, take up 2 or 3 minutes. The lesson description, I would tell them over the period of a week. Each day we will spend 20 to 30 minutes learning different parts of speech. You will learn what nouns, pronouns, verbs, adverbs, and adjectives are and how they are used in sentences. Sentences that you say every day. The TEKS are included on here, 4.11d, 3 through 6. I don't know my Roman numerals. I have ELPS on here. Unit goals. You will be able to locate, identify, and understand how nouns, pronouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs are used in sentences and understand those parts of speech for everyday speaking, reading, and writing. Lesson goals. Let's see if I'm on the right one. Okay. Lesson goals, number 1, by the end of the week, you will be able to locate parts of speech and sentences and describe their function, or how they work, with 80% accuracy. Number 2, by the end of the week, you will understand the parts of speech and how they function, or how they work, in everyday conversations. Number 3, by the end of the week, you will participate in textbook exercises, online grammar games, and create your own personal stories using the parts of speech with 80% accuracy. I have UDL guidelines all throughout. Your vocabulary words for this unit are as follows: noun, pronoun, adjective, verb, adverb. And on the lesson, these definitions are also listed. Methods, anticipatory set. To introduce students to the parts of speech as well as to build upon their previous knowledge, students will visit an IXL page online, and they will play a game called Parts of Speech Asteroids. This is where a few asteroids will float up on the screen, and it'll say noun next to their little gun thing, and they have to shoot the asteroid that has the noun on it to move on to get points. If they don't shoot the one that has the noun on it, it won't do anything. And it'll switch. It won't just say noun. Adjectives will come up, adverbs, all that good stuff. This game will allow students to test their knowledge of the different parts of speech, and I would implement this as a warm-up activity. So maybe about 5 minutes, 10 at the max. I don't like to waste too much time. I already don't get enough. After it's done, their performance will be observed and evaluated. They'll be walking around the room as they do this, helping when they need help, observing when they just need to see how they're doing on their own. Students may ask questions and see examples. Next, students will be put into groups of 3 and directed to watch the video that I would put on the smartboard. It is a YouTube video, and it's called Parts of Speech Rap, and it is 3 minutes long. It is a very engaging and entertaining video. After viewing the video, students will share in, meaning they'll, in those groups of 3, share in. They will talk amongst their group about the video and discuss what they learned about the different parts of speech with each other in their group. Students should reflect upon their learning specifically for nouns, pronouns, and adjectives, verbs and adverbs, focusing on the function of each part of speech according to the video just viewed. And then each group will share out with the class, the whole group. The EB student, Emergent Bilingual, I have 3 of those, at least 3 currently in my actual class. They will be paired up with another student when playing the Parts of Speech Asteroids IXL game. And the other student will ask the Emergent Bilingual student a question, that way both students are working together to find the answer. For the video activity, the Emergent Bilingual student will be able to hear the video and have another student from their group write down their choice of 2 parts of speech. Introduce and model new knowledge. Students will use the website. At this point, I bring up the website, IXL Learning, and quizzes for this lesson. They should be familiar with using various internet resources, and my kids in my actual classes are. We use digital resources almost every single day. The teacher, I, will explain the 5 parts of speech involved in the lesson and give examples of how they are used in communication. I will use IXL and quizzes to allow students to practice these skills in games, reading exercises, and or quizzes. And after each lesson and exercise or day, students will be able to discuss what they learned or did not learn in that lesson. And I will clear up any misconceptions or misunderstandings. And students will need access to a computer with internet to complete this assignment. And right now where I'm at, we are 1-to-1 on devices. So that works beautifully for them. Provide guided practice. Students will follow along in their textbooks as the lesson begins each day. After each part of speech has been explored as a whole group activity, we will work together looking at sentences and examples from education.com. I have a PDF linked here, and I would just pull that up and look at it together. I'd put it on the smartboard, and we would just go over them together. I would ask for volunteers to raise their hand and see if they can give the answer, more of a whole group situation. And what's this one? It's called Nouns and Adjectives. Underline the nouns and adjectives in each sentence. So the first one is beautiful snowflakes drifted in the cold air. So I would do the first one for them. I do, we do, you do. I do. Underline the nouns and adjectives. Nouns, obviously, snowflakes. Adjectives, beautiful, cold. So on and so on. There are 12 sentences on that. And then each student will take a turn reading the sentences and answering the question. Accommodation. Phone a friend. I use this in my classroom frequently, especially when we're, it's kind of time sensitive. If they're taking a while to answer, I can just say, would you like to phone a friend? And any friend, any peer that has their hand raised, they can pick on any of them to help them out. Students may ask any student in the classroom for assistance if they are having difficulty with the question or answer. They may also ask their elbow partner. After each student has taken a turn, more examples will be given, and a time of questions and reflection will take place. After that, we will play the interactive game, Minute to Win It, Parts of Speech and Stations, and is derived from an activity found on that same website, education.com. This activity will require us to use 5 paper bags, index cards, and pencils. We will start by reviewing each part of speech and its function using teacher-made parts of speech anchor chart in the room. Groups will be assigned a station to begin the game. I could keep the same groups as before or switch it up if necessary. They'll have 3 minutes at each station to come up with at least 5 words for that station's specific part of speech. Each paper bag, so there will be 5 stations, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stations, and at each station there will be a paper bag with either the word noun taped to it, adjective, verb, adverb, or pronoun. So at each station, they have to come up with a noun specifically, or a pronoun, or an adjective, yada, yada, yada. And then they will write it on index cards. They will place the index cards in the paper bag, before leaving the station. And I would number the groups and have them write their number small in the corner. That way I know which word came from which group. After this is done, we'll move to a whole group activity. Groups will select 1 word from each bag and try to make the longest sentence they can from the chosen words. I will model the first round. So I would select a card from each bag, and then I would, on the board, with some magnets, just try to make the longest sentence I could, adding in prepositions or articles wherever they needed to go. And then each group receives 1 point for every correct word used in the correct context. Play continues until there are no more words left. The winner is the group with the most points. This game will then serve as an introduction to new parts of speech that we will introduce later on in the year. I have a provide independent practice. Students will be directed to visit quizzes. I love this. I use quizzes all the time. And our district just bought quizzes premium. So I'll still have to check out some of those features that we just got. But this quiz is parts of speech. It's a parts of speech quiz, and it has 15 questions on it. From there, students will be quizzed using these quizzes on their knowledge of the parts of speech. This activity is not graded, but it will show students and the teacher, me, how well the subject has been comprehended, or it will show if they need more practice. 80% accuracy is the goal. wrap up. Students will also be asked to visit funbrain.com. And this is a computer just went into airplane mode. This is a another game. It's called Grammar Gorillas. Help the gorillas identify parts of speech. This is their exit ticket. This game will help build students' skills in the parts of speech. It will bring all elements taught together to end the lesson. Students will tell their favorite part of the lesson and reflect upon their newfound knowledge of the parts of speech. As far as the assessment goes, the formative ongoing assessment is I will work closely with all students to make sure that they are comprehending the parts of speech as well as being able to use the internet digital resources with ease. For the EB students, Emergent Bilingual, there will be detailed results of how they learned as well as how their partner learned by helping them. Make sure all students understood and showed engagement throughout the lesson. Engagement is the top priority, and I tell my kids that all the time. If you are not engaged, you are not learning. I'm sorry, that wasn't the exit ticket. This is the exit ticket. Students will be given a sticky note, and they'll be asked to answer a question issued by me. Could be one of these three questions. What is the most important thing you learned today and why? I used to think ... but now I know ... Something about correcting a thought process. And the third one, how would you explain what you learned today to someone in the grade below you? So if they had to talk to a third grader and explain to them what they learned, how would they go about that? And then the summative or end of lesson assessment, I would include some form of writing activity, probably with this sentence stem and a good prompt, where they will write a personal story using the parts of speech correctly, even if it is pre-made and they are filling in the blanks for an alternative assessment. And then I have all of the materials / resources and websites listed. And that is all for sentence structure, more specifically, parts of speech.